Hey, welcome to another edition of Inspirational Focus. And each month we have different individuals that are involved with professing their faith, talking about their faith, talking about some of the reasons why they believe. And this particular chapter of our Inspirational Focus, we have with us Dr. Craig Klein. Dr. Craig Klein is a ordained deacon with the Episcopal Church, who's going to be talking a little bit about some of the church tenets and beliefs, and he's going to share with us a number of different ideas about why the Episcopalian faith or denomination has an importance to the listening audience. So welcome, Dr. Klein.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it very much. Nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I'll be quite frank with you. I know a little bit about the Episcopal faith. And so if I say some or ask some questions that are, just sort of bear with me.
It's okay.
So
it's all good.
Good. The Episcopal Church had its start, I believe, with when there was a question with King Henry VIII.
It did. There are a lot of colorful folk tales about how that might have happened. What it really came down to was where was the ultimate seat of authority or power in a given church structure. Henry VIII wanted himself to be the supreme head of the church, not the Pope. And from that came the beginnings of the so-called Anglican tradition, and that church and its beliefs were very, very similar to Roman Catholic Church structure, except there is no Pope.
Oh, okay.
Instead, we have the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh, okay.
The earliest settlers, particularly to New England, brought that faith with them, and it has spread throughout North America at this point. Well, of course, we're several hundred years later.
Yeah.
But the services remain similar to a casual observer.
That's interesting. I know that you are an ordained minister. If I were to address you, would I call you Reverend? Would I call you
we
Deacon?
Would.
Okay.
You would. Then, if you live long enough in life and have enough experiences, you can accommodate a number of things that precede your name.
Oh, okay.
So that which shows under my name occasionally on a program like this is Doctor, but in fact it's Reverend Doctor.
Okay.
But there are very few places where you would use both simultaneously.
Okay.
So
in the Catholic Church, we call the priests fathers. In the Anglican Church, how do you address?
We call the male priests fathers. We call the female priest mother.
Oh, really?
So we have. I was going to say Mother Teresa, but she was not a priest. But close to 50% of our ordained clergy are female.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm assuming then, because of the split from the Roman Catholic Church, that marriage is allowed in the Episcopal faith.
Why, yes, it is.
Well, see,
Yes,
Catholic Church has married deacons, permanent deacons.
And I would be the equivalent of a permanent deacon in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Okay. We call them vocational deacons.
Oh, okay. All right. When you say vocational deacons, just what does a deacon do in the faith?
Well, we essentially do all but three things that a priest alone does. And they're easy to remember. They're ABCs. So A is absolve. I can't really forgive you your sins. I cannot bless you or anything else. Not your cat, not your car, not your house, not your son. I cannot bless anyone or anything. And I cannot consecrate. And by consecrate, it means I can't preside over the blessing of the elements on the table and making them suitably prepared to distribute to a congregation. That's it. Everything else, marriage, funeral, whatever.
Okay, so
everything else I can do.
So you are able to, as an ordained minister, deacon, to marry individuals. So what did you have to do to become a permanent deacon?
Okay. Well, a couple of things. One, little setup first. All priests must serve a period of time to be negotiated or determined as a deacon. So that they always remember this part of their ministry, which is the servant leader kind of position. The notion that there go my people, I must follow, kind of thing. So in my particular case, the language I would use is that I was called to love and serve as someone who serves others. I'm not there to so much educate in a formal way, but to provide an example and literally provide help where it seems to be needed. I go out into the communities where I am assigned, and I find needs that the individual parish or individual church unit, the one that I serve, can help meet whatever that need is, and come back and present to the congregation and to the priest and see if there can be some interest in helping whatever the situation is.
You know, one of the things that I truly believe is that everyone needs some kind of spiritual guidance. And whether it's Anglican or Baptist or Catholic, Muslim or anything, each one of us really want to serve and to be served through a spiritual force.
That's true.
And
I think and that's why we have, in part, but the nature of how we are served is a very individual thing. And if you're lucky, you can find other people who have this general set of beliefs that you have, and you will tend to stay with them and worship with them, however you define worship, regardless of what faith you are, or certainly what denomination in Christianity you are. The notion that people are searching for something, and whether they search for it actively or passively, at least they search. And we clergy like to believe, and for many reasons, that they are a good and effective voice in the world.
I see.
And so we go into it for, I guess I would say, higher reasons, higher aspirations, and we really are called to love and serve.
Oh, okay.
That's what we do.
And so let's take a few assumptions. The Episcopalian Church believes that Christ is the leader of the church. Is that
that's it. I'll give you a more formal way of looking at it.
Okay.
He is considered our great high priest.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and we reference him as such in occasional services.
Okay.
Yeah. So he remains the head of the church as its chief priest and representative.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the service then surrounds the Christian faith.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And in the Catholic Church, the reason being is I'm a Roman Catholic, and I'm most familiar with their rituals and beliefs and things of that nature. There is a reading of prior to the sermon. You have three readings. You have the Old Testament, the New Testament, and one of the Gospels. One of the is that similar to the?
That's exactly like the Episcopal Church. We have Old Testament, New Testament, a psalm of some sort, and then the reading from whatever the Gospel of the day is, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, and I'm the one who reads that.
Oh, okay. All right.
I will literally walk out with a service booklet. I'll walk out with a book of Gospels and stand in the middle of the congregation and read in a loud voice for the entire space.
Okay. Yeah. So just out of curiosity, do you have set, for instance, with the Catholic Church, 1 year they go through the whole Gospel of Luke, then the next year the whole Gospel of Mark.
Sure.
And
We do.
You know,
In fact, there are 3 years,
right.
and there are 2 tracks within each
Yes.
of those. So there are 6 possibilities. Generally, a church picks the track that it prefers. One track is more historical language, formal language from, say, half a century ago. The other track is far more contemporary.
Okay.
But the heart of it is the 3-year cycle. So you finish year A, and then you finish B, and then you finish C, and you start A all over again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that the Gospel of John is used during special events such as Lent or such as Christmas time.
That's true. The structures, again, are very, very similar.
Okay. All right. And so the same Gospels that you use are similar to the Catholic Church.
And we use the same cycle of prayer.
Okay.
Anglican calendar of prayer has some variation from the Roman Church, but it parallels it most of the time.
And so I would imagine that the Anglican Church, when it had a major dispute with King Henry VIII and with the Pope, it's my understanding that during that time period, there was a discussion of who had more authority. And King Henry VIII felt that the Roman Catholic Pope did not have the authority over him.
Well, certainly not in his country.
In his country, yes.
So-
And so there was sort of a split off. I think at about the same time, there was some Protestant reformations going on, and
Martin Luther came along, for
yes,
example.
yeah, and so there was many divergence of faiths within the Christian church.
Sure. And most of those subsets, if you will, most of the groups that were forming, they formed in parallel to each other, not in conflict with each other.
Oh, okay.
And not in isolation from each other either. They formed in parallel ways. And most all of them made it to this country when this country was founded. They came as settlers. And other Christian denominations, for example, the Greek Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, flourished in different places and in other ways. So not until much later did the examples of those denominations become reasonably widespread in this country.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the Catholic Church, you have various different dioceses. Like, for instance, in our area, we are under the Columbus Diocese, which covers about 22 counties. And each of the counties have their own Catholic church. And so the priests that are assigned to those Catholic churches, etc., respectfully report to the bishop, not in, you know.
I can give you a structure of the Episcopal Church.
That would
How
be
about
great.
that?
That'd be great.
Okay. The Episcopal Church in America is organized not unlike government as we understand it. Individual communities, or individual houses of worship, are known as parish. And up on the screen right now you see the standard logo that the Episcopal Church in America uses, and there's another version of it. You can generally find an Episcopal Church in many towns without actually reading what name is on the door or on the sign, if there is one out in front, because the door will be painted bright red.
Bright red.
Bright red.
That's interesting.
It's certainly the case in Gallipolis and in the parish where I serve, which is in Chillicothe. So the individual parish or church building would be the equivalent of a town or a city.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then all of those are overseen by what is called a diocese. Dioceses can have as few as 10 churches or parishes in them. They can have as many as 150. It just depends on the size and where you are, what part of the country you live in. Predictably, the urban Northeast has far more people in it than, say, the rural Midwest, you know, Kansas, Wyoming areas, that kind of thing. but it's all distributed as equitably as it can be. Each diocese or collection of parishes is overseen by a bishop. All of the dioceses in the country go together to make a synod, S-Y-N-O-D, and eventually you get to the Episcopal Church of North America. A synod would be a collection of dioceses with similar purpose. So the Central American dioceses, for example, are a different province than those in the United States. So that's a synod, a province or a synod. The church has 3 levels of people that are ordained. Again, this is men and women both. We have deacons who do the service work and the servant work. Priests, which are considered in many ways to be teachers and leaders of a congregation. And then we have bishops, all of whom were priests. Huh. They don't necessarily have to be a priest in order to be a bishop, but it's been hundreds of years since a deacon, for example, was nominated and elected bishop. So we each have a role to play at our level of structure and government. Once every few years, people from all the dioceses, elected people from all the dioceses in North America get together, and in Central America too. And it is a truly democratic body. And when they gather, it actually is the largest single democratic voting group that gathers on the planet. I mean, thousands of people come together and everyone gets their vote according to the structure and the rules. So it becomes the largest democracy on earth for 2 or 3 weeks every 3 years or so. And it is.
That's interesting. And so I'm assuming that similar to many different religions, Catholic included, that there is a structure to the service.
Yes. So I'm going to hold something up now for people to take a look at. You may or may not. You probably can see just a cross on it. This is actually what we call the Book of Common Prayer. What is Common Prayer? The Episcopal Church is a so-called liturgical church. This is a book of services. This entire thing is how to run a service for any given occasion, for any possible reason that the people who composed it thought might be necessary. So where the liturgical church is one that follows a formal structure of how worship takes place, and that structure is the same in every single individual church or parish that you will find. So I can go to Fargo, North Dakota, I can go to Honolulu, I can go to Fairbanks, I can go to anything else south of here, and all of them will have this. And all of them will use the exact same service. And it is a structure that is very well defined and people come to really appreciate. And a hallmark of it is that in almost all Sunday services, communion is a regular part and an integral part of pretty much every service that's done.
Well, let's talk a little bit about communion.
Sure.
Many different denominations look at communion in a little bit. The Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, truly believes that the priest has the capability of
transubstantiation.
Yes.
So the elements, meaning bread and wine,
yes,
actually transform into the body and blood of Christ.
Yes.
That's the notion.
Yes. Is that the same with Anglican Church? Or
many believe that.
Okay.
Many believe that. There is a slide I brought, and it's comical, but it's Robin Williams.
Okay.
Quote. See if we can get that up on the screen and talk to people. This will clarify a lot of stuff. So the top 10 reasons to be an Episcopalian: no snake handling, no. You can believe in dinosaurs, meaning that if you choose the evolution path of looking at life history, male and female, God created them male and female. We ordained them. So again, we have.
So they're sort of treated equal.
They are treated exceptional. They are treated very equal, and so anyone can be a deacon, a priest, or even a bishop in the Episcopal Church.
And just out of curiosity, in some religions they're very rigid as to what constitutes a woman and what constitutes a man.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's concerns. There's some individuals that, although maybe male or female, feel differently.
The Episcopal Church takes pride in welcoming people of all races, all colors, male and female, sexual orientation, whatever it is, nationality, everyone is welcome and welcome equally.
That's interesting.
And there's a real pride in that. Let's look at that list again. Well, you don't have to leave your brains at the door. We'll talk about that some other day. Pew aerobics. As might be predicted, when one uses one of these and you do the exact same service everywhere you go, there are times when you stand as a sign of respect and times when you are seated. So you can go up and down probably as many as 30 times in one service. How do you know when to do this if you've never been there? Look at everyone else. Just mirror what they do. But pew aerobics has a small ring of truth to it. You're not hopping up and you're not standing up vigorously and sitting down hard, but you do stand up and down a lot. Let's see that list some more. Church year is color-coded, so sure.
What do you mean by that?
We wear clothing, and I should have brought some. The long white robe-like thing.
The chasuble.
Well, that's part of that outfit. Is called an alb.
Oh, okay.
And some of them have the hoods that come over them and that sort of thing. And then we wear stoles, which are colors.
Okay.
And the colors signify what season of the church year we're in.
Oh, okay.
So we have Advent and Lent and Pentecost, and it goes on and on. And so you can tell what season you're in by the colors that the clergy wear. And those are the sashes, or that which hangs around our necks. They come in various colors. Let's go back to the list again. Free wine on Sunday. Actually, we do serve wine. We serve real wine. And of course, we have people who, for example, show you this. We actually have nuns, and we have nunneries in this country who are Episcopalian. The closest one to here is called the Sisters of the Transfiguration. And they have a base, if you will. Their mother house is in Cincinnati.
Well, going back to that wine,
Yeah.
In the consecration of the host, also the wine is consecrated.
Sure.
And so, basically, it is wine, but it is also the blood of Christ.
For that reason, wine that is left over is typically put in a small box in the middle of the altar, and it's put under lock and key.
Oh, okay.
And along with any unused bread for the exact same reason.
Right.
I mean, there's a practical limit to how long you can store bread in a box and an altar.
Well, the Catholic Church has a tabernacle where they store
right. That's it. And see, all the pageantry, none of the guilt, no comment. You don't have to know how to swim to be baptized. No, there is no full immersion baptism as far as I know in the Episcopal Church. And no matter what you believe, there's bound to be at least one other Episcopalian who agrees with you, and that's true. So we take to heart the concept of whenever 2 or 3 are gathered together, because sometimes it is only 2 or 3, depending on your point of view. So, but you can generally find somebody else.
So let me ask you this: why should individuals consider the Episcopalian Church?
Because it has much tradition, and a very rich tradition. It very thoughtfully, in my view, that's a biased opinion, I know, thoughtfully incorporates music into the service. So music is meant to complement and to expand on those Bible readings that you referred to earlier. So the music is meant to match and elaborate on the things that you read. And it is not an unwelcoming church. If you want to explore faith and you would find comfort in structure and know exactly what's going to come, then you are freer to appreciate those readings that you hear and that sermon that you receive and that experience that you have with other people who are seated around you. Same thing.
Well, you know, it is interesting. I was reading some statistics where many individuals in name only cater to one specific spiritual, traditional spiritual religion or another, and that they're slowly dropping. That the concern is that individuals are not finding the spiritual paths as they once were. Maybe in our generation, our younger generation, I would want to say.
That would be the next episode of this program
Yeah,
to respond.
I'd
But
like
it's a universal concern, not just in the Episcopal Church, but in most liturgical churches. Population has varied widely, up and down, and there are more now than there have been at other points in time. There are fewer now than there have been at other points in time.
Yeah.
It's a very fluid thing. Yeah.
And you know, the one thing that I again believe is that everyone needs some kind of spiritual balance to their life.
I think that everyone considers it, especially in places like Austin, where we had our general convention. That was the countrywide convention with that large Democratic group of people. That just happened a few months ago. So again, that moves around, but we like to believe that people thoughtfully are looking for ways to explore a part of themselves that they perceive or would refer to as spiritual.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Deacon Reverend Dr. Klein.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you very much for sharing some of the thoughts. Next month, you're going to come back and we're going to be talking more about the Episcopal Church.
Sure. Happy to be here. I appreciate everything.
You're more than welcome.
Take care now.
And for Mike Thompson, who's behind the scenes, for Pat Dangle, thank you for watching Inspirational Focus.